A very good afternoon and warm welcome to all our esteemed guests, respected dignitaries, to the Smart City Gas Distribution session at India Smart Utility Week. In a step towards India's goal of achieving a gas-based economy, NITI Aayog has lined up a proposal to give complete marketing and pricing freedom to all natural gas produced in the country. To start the Smart City Gas Distribution session, I am privileged to invite Shri D.V. Shastri, Executive Director, NGS, for the welcome address. Please, sir. Mr. D.V. Shastri is an astute leader with 36 years of multifarious experience in natural gas industry, encompassing its technical and managerial aspects such as project management, operations and maintenance of natural gas pipelines and gas processing plants. Welcome, sir. Mr. Raman Chadha, who is the CEO, GAIL Gas Limited, will be joining us shortly for the special address.
Namaste and a very good afternoon to all of you. Respected Professor Kirit S. Parikh ji, former member Planning Commission and Padma Bhushan awardee. Mr. K.K. Jha, former member PNGRB, Mr. A.K. Tiwari, former ED Pipelines from Indian Oil, my senior colleague Mr. Vipin Chittola, senior consultant from Natural Gas Society, Mr. Kapil Jain and all other ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure and privilege for me to welcome you all to this session on Smart City Gas Distribution, being jointly organized by India Smart Grid Forum and the Natural Gas Society. Friends, as we all know, though the world has made tremendous progress in terms of technology, infrastructure and in other domains, there are serious issues like energy crisis, environmental pollution, global warming, climate change. We are seeing that after winter, summer has come suddenly. So these kind of changes are matter of serious concern which are affecting the entire mankind. And this is why the focus is now on sustainable development, low carbon economy, green fuels, renewables and so on. Insofar as our country's energy scenario is concerned, there is an emphasis on improving gas transmission and distribution infrastructure and the market for natural gas. It has grown very fast because of that. The development of new local gas distribution systems has been playing a critical role in bringing clean energy to the population. The current approximately 6+%, it is fluctuating sometimes 6.2, 6.1 like that. So that kind of share, Government of India has set a target of taking this to the level of 15% by 2030 in the energy basket of our country. Moreover, infrastructure development has been a major focus area for the government, with gas pipelines grid being established across the country, and we know that various projects are there in various stages of completion. In pipelines, about 35,000 kilometers of natural gas pipeline network across the country has been authorized with the aim to create a national gas grid, and almost 21,000 kilometers of natural gas pipelines are already operational and another 14,000 kilometers are under progress. So once this network is established, India would be able to provide gas for vehicles and households, commercial and industrial use to 88% of India's geographical area, covering 98% of population under 297 geographical areas bid till now. In this context, the CGD sector has an important role to play. As on date, there are almost 5,000 CNG stations, around 100 lakh, that is 1 crore PNG connections, more than 36,000 commercial connections, and 14,000 plus industrial connections. And of course, the credit goes to the implementing companies like GAIL, GAIL Gas, IGL, MGL, MNGL, Adani Total Gas, Torrent Gas, Think Gas, etc. And the newly authorized CGD network presents immense opportunities, but the challenges are also equal in number. So with this background, with the growth of natural gas sector in the country, this natural gas society was set up, which I am representing. I am its executive director, and Professor Parikh was asking me as to what are the objectives of this society. So I would like to share with you that the primary objectives of our society are: number one, to represent the collective interest and promote, facilitate and further sustainable growth of natural gas industry in India, because all of us know that if our voice is put up together to the decision makers, then perhaps it has more weightage rather than the individual entities approaching the decision makers in isolation. So therefore, this is the common body to raise the concerns and voice of the industry members. Then it also aims at serving as a nodal point for coordination of all efforts at generation and dissemination of information and technology relevant to natural gas, to work on common interest issues like safety standards, etc., because the CGD network is directly related with the public at large. So therefore, we have to be very conscious about safety. Then to provide critical inputs to the policy makers on major issues relevant to the development of gas industry, to enable exchange of knowledge and experience among the industry members, and to promote a culture of innovation, cooperation, collaboration and healthy competition. In this context, I would like to share one or two important initiatives which have been taken and are being taken in the near future. One initiative we have taken to organize the NG Summit, Natural Gas Summit, in which we invite the CEOs and the director level persons on a common platform to exchange the information, also to flag the issues of concern which natural gas society can put up to the concerned authorities, and also to look forward to the newer areas of cooperation and collaboration. Another initiative is experience of knowledge, exchange of knowledge and experience, that we have named as GPS. And GPS stands for Jnananubhava Pravaha Sahayatra. Jnana means knowledge, Anubhav is experience, Pravaha means flow, Sahayatra means journey together. So that's how we have coined that term, Jnananubhava Pravaha Sahayatra, in which we will take one industry at a time. Say for example, on 24th of March, we are starting this initiative from Mahanagar Gas Limited, Mumbai. And all of us know that the safety practices in MGL are very good. So the idea is to share the best practices. So the one or two representatives from other entities, they are invited to visit MGL, where there will be a conference room presentation about the safety and HSE practices, followed by site visits to installations and the construction sites, so that people can understand the best practices. They can share own practices with the other industry members. So this will not only enable the sharing of knowledge and experience, but also building a rapport between the industry members, because we all know we are all human beings, and once there is a person to person connect, the things become much easier. So that will facilitate the growth of the industry. And to inform you about the membership, the corporate members, the patrons of this society are GAIL, Mahanagar Gas Limited, IGL and Petronet LNG. and the members are various joint ventures working in city gas distribution, Adani Total Gas, Think Gas, Torrent Gas, etc. And to add another flavor, we have taken the initiative. Sir, we keep on talking about industry-academia collaboration, but perhaps it remains limited to the conference room only. But to take a concrete step in that direction, I am very happy to share with you that we have enrolled Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology as our member. Also, the Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University has become our member, and we are in the process of enrolling UPES Dehradun and IIP Vizag also, and also ISM Dhanbad as members of our society, so that there is active industry academia collaboration. And I have put forth an idea that the way students are coming to the industry for internship, the professors and the academicians should also be given exposure to the industry. They may remain in the refinery, petrochemical plant, gas processing plants to have a first-hand feel of what industry is all about, and so that they can modify the curriculum and modify the ways of teaching, and with the ultimate objective of providing the industry-ready students. So this is another effort being made by our society. In the past, we have taken some specific studies also, like impact of electric vehicles on natural gas sector, and also a study on measures to improve flexibility of Asian natural gas market, study on tariff and taxes and impact on industry, and so on. So with this background, now today this conference is under the umbrella of India Smart Grid Forum. So there is a natural synergy between the DISCOMs, that is electricity distribution companies, power sector, and the CGD sector, because there are common things. For example, permissions from local authorities. So many agencies are there from which we need to take permission. So perhaps if this is done in collaboration, the things would become easier for both. Network expansion and asset information sharing, customer relationship management in terms of domestic and industrial customers, the database sharing, because whenever CGD entity takes up a project in some new city or new geographical area, the customer data is required, which is already available with the DISCOMs. So why to reinvent the wheel? So that kind of sharing can enable the faster growth with efficiency. Then metering is another area which is common to DISCOMs and the CGD entities. Billing and revenue collection, again common area. Customer feedback and grievance redressal. So these are the areas where we can find commonality and synergy between these two sectors, and we can also do cooperation for GIS mapping, emergency and disaster management plan, and of course knowledge and experience sharing, capability building through L&D, and skill building for the sectors for the overlapping areas. So while efforts have already been started for such collaboration, it is only a beginning, and a lot more can be done and should be done. And it is with this objective that ISGF and NGS have organized this conference as an initiative towards collaboration between the DISCOMs and CGD entities. And it is heartening to see that a large number of participants are present here from the industry. I extend a hearty welcome to all of you. And now I would request Ashima to take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the welcome address. We are proceeding with the first session of the day. It's the pricing freedom for natural gas in India. This session will be chaired by Mr. Kirit Parekh. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Krit S. Parekh is the chairman of the Integrated and Action for Development IRADE, a non-profit think tank that works on policies in the areas of energy, climate change, urban issues, and agriculture and poverty. This session will be moderated by Mr. D.V. Shastri, Executive Director, Natural Gas Society. Welcome once again, sir. I would request Shastri sir to please invite the panelists on stage to take the session forward.
Good afternoon once again, and the chair for this session is Professor Kirit Parekh. The other panelists are Mr. Deepak Mehta. I would invite him on the dais. He is Head Business Development, IGX. Another panelist is Mr. Kamil Bhullar, Research Officer from NITI Aayog. And Mr. Kapil Jain, Chief Operating Officer, GAIL Gas Limited. So before the session starts, I will give a brief introduction about each of the dignitaries sitting on the dais. Professor Kirit Parekh needs no introduction, but yes, for the sake of it, I would like to mention that he is the chairman of Integrated Research and Action for Development, IRADE, a non-profit think tank that works on policies in the area of energy, climate change, urban issues, agriculture and poverty. He was honored with Padma Bhushan by the President of India in 2009 and shared the Nobel Prize in 2007 given to IPCC authors. He was also a member of Economic Advisory Council of 5 Prime Ministers of India, that is Mr. Vajpayee, Mr. Narasimha Rao, Chandrasekhar ji, VP Singh ji and Rajiv Gandhi. And he has so many other things to his credit. So, hearty welcome to you, sir. Please welcome him with a round of applause. Then our panelist is Mr. Deepak Mehta. He is Head Business Development from Indian Gas Exchange, IGX. Mr. Mehta has over 22 years of experience in the oil and gas industry and commodities. Prior to joining IGX, he worked with the Multi-Commodity Exchange of India, that is MCX, where he was heading the Energy and Agri Division. He was responsible for the promotion of energy and agri contracts, setting up of corporate hedging desks for the price risk management, contract designing and promotion, launching of new commodities, promotion of different trading strategies, and so on. We welcome you. Next speaker or panelist, so to say, is Mr. Kamil Bhullar. He is a research officer at NITI Aayog and he is working in the energy vertical of our NITI Aayog. His areas of work include the oil and gas sector, biofuels and the international cooperation. He holds a master's degree in economics from the Punjab University, Chandigarh, and he belongs to the 2020 batch of Indian Economic Services. A hearty welcome to you. Next panelist is Mr. Kapil Jain. He is the Chief Operating Officer of GAIL Gas Limited, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of GAIL India Limited. He has a long experience in the areas of marketing, operations and maintenance, and project management at GAIL Gas Limited. He is overseeing the overall gas sourcing, marketing and O&M of CGD infrastructure in projects in 16 number of PNGRB authorized geographical areas of GAIL Gas. He is also a member of Board of Directors of GAIL Gas Limited's joint venture companies and responsible for steering the strategic growth by developing and implementing short-term and long-term goals of the company. So with this, I request the chairman to start the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Let's begin and get to the substance of the session. After all these preliminary formalities, which have taken a somewhat longer time than one should have expected. But first of all, India has a goal currently using 6% of its energy is coming from natural gas. 50% of this is imported. And our objective is to go to 15% natural gas share in our total energy basket. This cannot be done without substantial increase in domestic production of gas. And over the years, we have seen that people have been reluctant to come to India to explore gas, and there are many reasons given for it. One is that maybe the perceptions of the international companies, large companies, is that maybe Indian basins do not have much gas. The other is that it is just not that, but that the changing government policies, which often change from one time to the other, creates a huge uncertainty about risk of government policy risk. And therefore, I think it is important to clean these things up and make it possible for people to come in the country and explore. I think we have to recognize that we cannot depend too much on imported gas simply because the prices fluctuate from one to the other. And even when the natural gas price is around $2-3 at the port site in exporting countries, by the time it lands into India at LNG, it will be at least $7 to $8 per million BTU. So I think we have to recognize that it is going to be that kind of a price that we have to pay. The major users that we would like to promote in the country for gas are the piped natural gas using domestic consumers, compressed natural gas for transport sector, and feedstock for fertilizer, which is also a major gas. The other users industry where they use gas primarily as a fuel, one can think of replacing it by other sustainable future non. I think the pricing regimes that we have is a very variety of pricing regimes. Something 14 different pricing regimes exist depending on the kind of field, when it was allotted and so on. But mainly we can think of three different regimes that are important. One is the APM gas, the allocated field that were given to ONGC and OIL. By nomination without requiring anything in return. The government also owns a substantial part of the equity in these companies as well. And the second is the various things of various versions and avatars of NELP were given fields, and there are different suggestions as to profit sharing, cost sharing, revenue sharing, etc., and product sharing. And the third group would be that those who have been given allocated field after February 2019, they have the total pricing freedom. Whereas the middle group has a pricing freedom, there is a cap on the price at which they can sell, which is periodically set by the government, which is what I think I was telling you about the fear of government policies changes is there. So I think if we want to have a 15% domestic consumption of gas, we really need to think about a system in which people have full freedom of marketing and pricing and marketing freedom. And that's the one that we should really go down. However, then there is a second question. We have some preferred users whom we want to protect. For example, the PNG using consumers, cooking gas is very important to promote, because indoor gas indoor air pollution that takes place when people burn biomass or other cheaper fuels, that creates a huge amount of lost life as well as diseases in the society. So just to provide clean cooking fuel is very important. LPG is another solution, but LPG we are now also importing substantially, and it's more expensive than this, and it involves this complicated distribution logistic system. And if you want to go to all the households in the country, then LPGs will run out of the cylinders and other things, and we'll have to make a lot of investment in it. So I think best thing would be to say cover as many urban and peri-urban areas, households with PNG, piped natural gas, and provide LPG to other consumers in the rural areas. The second one is CNG promotion, is simply because of the urban air pollution can be significantly reduced if CNG is used, because even compared to diesel, with this BS6 diesel vehicles, CNG vehicles emit half the CO2 and less particulates and so on. So there is a, provided they are maintained properly, but that is assuming that is the case, but that applies to diesel vehicles as well. Now finally, I think, so what the committee I was chairing we recommended is that we need to protect these users. So what we should do is to have, we did some scenarios as well. One of the scenario we did is, suppose totally prices are freed, that everyone is given, the producers are given full marketing freedom to price and sell to whomsoever they want. At the same time, provide subsidies to domestic PNG users and to CNG users. That is fixed by the government, that this is the price at which you will provide CNG and this is the price at which you will give PNG, and whatever the difference between the free market price and that is covered by the government. And this applies to the APM gas producers as well. Doing that, we could show that our simulation scenarios, that doing that would actually increase government's revenue. So there is a net gain to government revenue because of the larger equity returns from the allocated gas companies, as well as higher taxes, etc., etc. All this really. So there was no public finance issue was involved in that sense, that the government budget would go out of kilter. But there were issues about whether this would ever, people would accept that, whether this subsidies given by the government will be given in time or not, and so on. So as a result, we had done a short-term compromises. Initially, we start with a floor and ceiling on the APM gas and try to free the other gas fully by the 1st of January 2026 or 1st of January 2027, depending on different groups. And that's essentially the recommendation we have made. And the reason why, and what we have ensured is that in the kind of pricing formula that we have suggested for gas would make gas available to domestic consumers competitive and cheaper than LPG supplied to domestic consumers. And similarly, the gas available to transport CNG consumers would be cheaper than diesel or other alternative vehicles, so that it continues to subsidize or support your preferred consumers and then think about the other things. So I am delighted that NITI Aayog is also pushing for a complete freedom for pricing and so on. But the committee's recommendations are with the government. They are being, processed in some sense, and we don't know what is going to happen. Thank you all. So I think I will invite first Mr. Deepak Mehta,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I represent Indian Gas Exchange. As Parikh sir mentioned that we are moving towards free pricing. So IGX can be a one stepping stone, you can say, where we are discovering prices, domestic Indian prices. As sir mentioned that we already have 14 pricing regimes in India. So, but the local demand and supply was never considered. So, and there are different assessment prices. We are discovering APM prices, we are discovering HPHT prices based on international hubs and maybe crude oil prices or the furnace oil prices. But what we say that IGX has become a benchmark that is based on local demand and supply. We disseminate the prices, of the natural gas which is traded on the platform. It's not like that we are linking our contracts to some or the other benchmark. So it's a purely delivery based platform. We started as a pure delivery based platform in 2020. Post that we applied for approval from PNGRB, and since December 2020 we are operating as the only authorized exchange in India. And till date we have traded more than 1 BCM of natural gas on the platform. And when I say that 1 BCM, that means that we have traded the entire and we have also delivered the entire amount. It's not a paper contract, it's not a speculative contract. We also handle the clearing and settlement. The delivery part is also taken care by IGX. And post our authorization, we started looking for important stakeholders. We started discussion with important players like IOCL, ONGC, GAIL, and we were very lucky to get them on board. All 5 major entities in oil and gas, that is GAIL, IOCL, ONGC, Adani and Torrent, they are holding 5% each in IGX. And we also have partnership from IEX and NSE. IEX, as you know, that one of the pioneer exchanges in electricity spot prices, and NSE, I think they need no introduction, one of the world's #1 stock exchanges. As I said that it's a completely delivery based model. The flexibility which IGX has brought into the system is that our market rules and bylaws are approved by PNGRB. So no matter whether IOCL is coming to trade or GAIL is coming to trade or a small entity like Saint-Gobain is coming to trade, the terms and conditions are standard, which are approved by PNGRB. So here we have the option to provide gas at a 1-day notice also. So we have a day-ahead contract where trading is done today for delivery tomorrow. We have daily contracts. You can pick and choose on which particular day you need delivery. Then you have weekday contracts, specially meant for CGD companies, where the deliveries happen from Monday to Friday only. Then we have weekly contracts, fortnightly contracts and monthly contracts. So currently, if you want, you can trade up to 6 months delivery. You can source up to 6 months of delivery from IGX. And we also trade in INR. So other benchmarks, the prices are in dollars per MMBTU. But when we say IGX, it is in rupees per MMBTU. So that again, one of the USP you can say that buyers, they don't need to hedge their price risk vis-a-vis dollar in any other stock exchange. And this is typically our trade flow. Our trading system is open on daily basis from Monday to Friday from 10 to 2. You place your bid. Within those 4 hours, you can modify your bid multiple times. And once your bid is in the system at 2 p.m., once the market is closed, bid is considered for final matching. Then final matching is done. The proper information is passed on to the buyer and seller. Since IGX is just a platform, we are not owning the title. So it's a platform where buyer and seller, they come and place their bids. And once the matching is done, both the entities, they come to know that I have sold this molecules to this buyer and I am the seller. We also provide a facility of delivered transaction, where we have already done the GTA, that is the gas transportation agreement with GAIL and PIL, where a buyer can ask us to book the capacity on their behalf. So we offer 2 types of transaction. One is X-sub, where the entity, they already have the transport arrangement with the transporters, and small entities, they can ask IGX to book the capacity on their behalf. And once the confirmation is received on capacity, we schedule the deliveries and the information is broadcast. And this is how we discover the price. So one of the important slide you can say. So at 2 p.m. we have got 4 buy bids in the system and 4 sell bids in the system. So our algo, which is approved by PNGRB, they calculate an intersection point where the maximum volume can be cleared on that particular day. So in this example, we have plotted 4 buy bids against 4 sell bids. The intersection point here is 430. That means at 430 rupees on that particular day, 600 MMBTU of volume is getting cleared. So this means all the buyers who have quoted a price of 430 and above, they will get gas at price of 430 only. Then your question will be why a buyer A has quoted 530, because our matching is done on price and time priority. So if you are in desperate need of gas, you have to quote a higher price, but that would be your best price. That means that you will get gas at that price or the price which is lower to that. And same logic goes for sellers. All the sellers who have quoted a price of 430 and less, they will be getting a uniform price of 430. So it's a uniform clearing price benefiting both the buyer segment and the seller segment. And this is how our volumes have grown. We are currently doing around 6 CMD on daily basis. You can just refer our website also for details. This is how we have handled the deliveries in last 2 years. And one Parikh sir mentioned very important thing which we have already implemented. So we have done around 37 domestic auctions. So one of the recommendation by Parikh sir was that gas should be awarded to the priority segment. So we have already done a few auctions where the priority has been given to CGD segment. So in our last 2 to 3 auctions, the 80% of the CGD demand was met by domestic gas. So whatever is left over was given to fertilizer segment, then whatever quantum was still left was given to LPG and then the power segment. And rest, if any quantum is left, was distributed among the other segment, that includes refiners, marketing companies and small traders. I will share this presentation, you can refer this presentation for detail. This is again, we have compared our IGX prices with other benchmarks prevalent in India. You can have the RAS gas contract, we have compared with Brent linked prices, we have compared with WIM prices, and you can see our prices on most of the times have been really competitive. So going forward, our suggestion is if you are entering into a long-term arrangement, you should have your exposure both in long-term also and some exposure in spot also. So you can enjoy then both the worlds. Maybe 50% you can tie up with on the long-term basis, and whenever there is a demand on the higher side, you can use IGX as a benchmark. This GIXI we have launched, this again a benchmark, we disseminate on daily basis based on the prices being discovered on IGX platform. This is just like the Nifty and Sensex. We are also discovering a natural gas spot index based on the trades happening on IGX platform. And we have almost covered 90% of the universe. You can say, you name any prominent name, whether it is GAIL, ONGC, IOCL, all OMCs companies, GSPC, they are using our platform to source or trade natural gas. I think there is a delay. You can see all prominent members, they are with IGX. We also have a concept of TCM, trading and clearing members. So what you have in NSE and BSE, they are the brokers, and on the right hand side you have clients. So clients are participating through these brokers. So brokers can trade only on behalf of the clients, whereas proprietary members, they cannot trade on behalf of third party, but they can trade only for their own and their affiliates requirements. And how you can become members, either you can join us through a client route, or you can take direct membership of IGX. The exchange value, I think everybody is aware. And key going forward, if we want to increase the energy mix percentage from say 6% to 15%, we have listed down few of the important enablers. That fertilizer company we are still missing. There should be a clear guidelines from Department of Fertilizer that how they can trade on IGX, and if they are sourcing from IGX, that part should be considered for subsidy allocation. Then you have prices for APM, as sir mentioned. IGX should be used a platform where you can discover the actual price of APM, what the market segment can.
Time is up, huh?
Yes, sir. That's it from my side, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, right. Very good. I have a question for you, but I'll wait till others have spoken. The next is Mr. Kamil Bhullar from NITI Aayog.
So, sir has already mentioned about the broad structure of the Indian gas market, the various kinds of regimes, and the importance of encouraging domestic production. So our work at NITI Aayog, we had examined issues related to the stagnating and declining oil and gas production over the last decade. And while examining that, we looked at several things. For instance, the perception of prospectivity. So for that, we need to disseminate and acquire data, geological data, and make it readily available for internationally, so that international investors can access it. The second, we looked at de-risking. So these were statutory and other related issues of ease of doing business. So we made recommendations with respect to that, and encouraging the government and the PSUs to get equity oil from foreign markets. That was another issue, and incentivizing production. So this is where the pricing issue came up. So the current formula of calculating APM prices, there are several issues with it. I'll briefly mention them. So first is that it is based on price benchmarks, internationally of faraway places, and this sometimes leads to a situation where the domestic cost of production is actually higher than what the APM is set. For instance, once we had the APM at $1.79 per MMBTU, which is higher than the average cost of around $4 which domestic companies have. The second issue is that it doesn't take into account the substitute fuels. If I remember correctly, the Rangarajan committee had recommended that LNG imports should be included in the formula, but due to some reasons that could not be done. So that's another problem with the current formula. And finally, it is not contemporary. So it takes last 4 quarters with a 1 quarter lag, and so that there is a problem of lag there. So based on this, we recommended that there needs to be complete pricing and marketing freedom for domestic natural gas. So of course this cannot be done like in a jiffy. We need to build the institutional background for it. For instance, regulatory reforms, the TSO, transmission system operator, issues related to unified pipeline tariff and other related issues. And so all of this we had recommended to the government, which was subsequently taken up by the committee. So, and currently some work is happening on this, and we are also examining certain proposals with respect to this. So this was broadly NITI's view on this.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Mr. Kapil Jain, Chief Operating Officer, GAIL.
Thank you. I'm honored to share the dais with Parik sir and other dignitaries. I represent GAIL Gas, which is 100% subsidiary of GAIL, and as such is one of the major players in the CGD sector. We have around 25 GAs, 16 directly with us and 9 through our 6 number of JV companies. So far we have done around 8.2 lakh DPNG connections and almost operating 363 CNG stations. Almost 8,400 inch kilometer of pipeline network still we have, and around 12,000 kilometer of MDP network we have laid, and we have more than 4,000 industrial and commercial customers. When we talk of pricing freedom, really I appreciate the report which was given by Parik sir. It is a very well balanced report wherein they have taken care of the producer as well as the consumers. So domestic gas production almost meets, it's met through 50% through the domestic production, this requirement, and 50% is import. So there is definitely a need that there is a need to increase the domestic production. So the interest is to be safeguarded for the production part also. But at the other hand, the consumers which are there, especially when we talk of the CGD sector, which already Parik sir has also referred that there are 2 major sectors. One is the PNG, one is the CNG. When we talk of these 2 sectors, India is still a nascent market. It is not a mature market like the foreign countries, wherein everyone is looking for the cost of the production. If you talk of industrial or the commercial consumers, they see what is the cost of production. And when we talk of PNG or CNG consumer, they talk of what is the cost to their pocket. These are the 2 major things which are affecting the cost. In last 1 year, when after March 22, the pricing has been changed to UPM, wherein every month the prices have started changing. And from 2.89 MMBTU dollar per MMBTU, the prices have gone up to 10 plus in August 15 up to that. And then it was further, because of the government intervention, came to 6.5, and again now it is 8.62, 8.58 right now as a UPB price. So this input price is a fixed price, and then onto this we add on the transportation cost, we add on the taxation, the VAT part, which is different for different states. So it is ranging from 0% in Delhi to 20% in Uttarakhand or 24% in Andhra. So that part is to be added directly, and then our some cost to the our O&M cost, what is we call as the S&D charges, we added. So the cost of the basic cost to us is goes high, whereas we as a CGD sector, when we talk of CNG or something, we have to compete with our industry, we have to compete with the alternate fuel, maybe the petrol, the diesel, though the price freedom has been given to petrol, but on the other hand there is a capping indirectly by the government. They have reduced the excise duty, they have capped it to 96, 97 rupees, whereas such thing is not there for the CGD sector. It is open, and whenever we do the pricing, we have to see what is the pricing with respect to the petrol, diesel, because what is right now our price is almost ranging from 85 to 95, 98 rupees per kg is the CNG price if you see the pan India basis, and petrol is almost 96, 97 to some 100 to 103 depending on the state taxation. So that always come into picture. If you see in last 6 months or 9 months when the prices have gone up, our industrial consumers have reduced by 10 to 15% just because of the price, because they have the choice to go with the parity parallel fuels, maybe the FO, maybe LPG or something. And on the other part, the taxation part, this CGD sector needs that is coming into the GST, because input credit is also given on the LPG. So when the customer is on LPG, they get the tax credit also. So comparing with LPG, we are really finding it tough. And second is when today the CGD sector, the authorization is given as a district, not a city. When you see the affordability, the urban people are more affordable. They know the quality life. They want to have the quality life. They are busy with their work. They want that the pipeline comes through their work. They switch on the thing and be free with the LPG. But when you talk of a district, it's a non-urban sector where if still there is a subsidy to the LPG. If I go and try to pursue with a domestic connection there, they will compare, and that subsidized LPG will always be much cheaper than what is the PNG we are giving to this sector. So there is a need that what sir has told, that we give the freedom. We give the freedom to the sector provided the subsidy part comes into picture for CNG and PNG sector. So I appreciate, really look into the report and everything. It is very well balanced, but only one thing which I will request sir also, that they have in the report they have told that by December 25 there should be a freedom to the things, that next 3 years. But only thing is that let us see how our market develops, whether the government is able to give that subsidy or not at that time after 3 years, or whether the market has matured to take this affordable gas. Because non-urban sector is still, I feel that it is not there, because these all growths are there. And second is allocation also, because APM production is low. Right now the allocation process has changed. Earlier it was 100%, now whatever is the APM gas available, it is divided by the volume consumed. So present kit is 90%. So 10% we have to make through LNG or whatever is the kitty with us, and it is further going to reduce, because like the PNG and the CNG sector, we don't have the control. CNG, it is growing like anything and consumption more. So this 90% will gradually reduce, and we have to make it through a higher cost. So to balance that, we have to see that how we can balance this, and let us see that market after 3 years how the market develops, and we can go with that, or how the policies of the government changes. If they give the subsidy, that will be good for us, because this is the crux of this, we work in the price band to survive the CGD sector. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let me say that we have gone over time much more, but I think we can still have few questions that anybody would like to ask any of the presenters. If there is no question, then I will raise some questions. One is Mr. Deepak Mehta. When we looked at the bids, sell and buy bids in October on the IGX, we found that only 10% of the bids were cleared, and the remaining were not cleared. Has the situation changed now?
Yes, sir, definitely the situation has changed. I mean, from November onwards, we have seen a huge jump in the volume, sir. You can say in December, October volumes were very less, but from December onwards, we are doing something around 6 MMSCMD. That's a multi-fold jump compared to October and November volume, sir. Because now more and more players are joining us. We have already placed the system, and with the joining of RIL, ONGC, HOEC has joined yesterday, then you have Shell has come on board, GSPC has come on board. So post the, your recommendation and MOPNG circular on 13 January, all CGD companies, I can say 100% of the CGD companies are sourcing gas from us, sir.
Good to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
To Mr. Kapil Jain, I would like to say that, the government policies have to be consistent. If they are going to give direct benefit transfer to LPG users, a similar scheme should also be there for PNG users. Because then otherwise there is, if you have distortions in the policies, then it doesn't work. The other question that I would have liked to raise, but the committee did not look at it because it was not a part of its terms of references, that if the country is going to have a net zero by 2070, what role does gas has in India's energy basket? And are we going for this 15% as a kind of a intermediate step, or is it, and how are we going to phase it out? We are already with faced with the problem of phasing out coal. Then we will also have a problem of phasing out natural gas. But anyway, we did not raise this issue because this was not a part of the terms of reference. And I just leave that to you to think about it and maybe get some ideas. I think we have gone over the time, but I may ask Mr. Shastri if he has to add and want to add anything shortly.
Yeah. No, thank you. All the speakers have spoken on the relevant issues and the way forward, and sir has also mentioned about various aspects, the pricing mechanism, the supply side, all areas of the sector have been covered so nicely, and I thank each of the panelists, Mr. Kapil Jain, Mr. Kamil, Mr. Deepak Mehta, and above all, thank you Kirit Parikh sir for chairing this session. Thank you.
Thank you, dignitaries, for sharing your insights for this session. I would request our chair, Mr. Dr. Parikh, to please give the mementos to our panelist here. Thank you. Thank you, sir. To Mr. Deepak. Thank you once again. I would like to give one to our chair. Yeah, we're starting with our session 2, which is India's target to have 15% gas in the energy mix by 2030. The Government of India is targeting to raise the share of gas energy mix by 15% by 2030 from around 6.4%. The demand will continue to grow while inadequate evacuation infrastructure seems a challenge of large scale. I would like to invite Mr. A.K. Tiwari, former ED Pipelines IOCL, to kindly chair this session. Welcome, sir. Shri A.K. Tiwari is a mechanical engineer having 40 years of experience in the field of oil and gas pipelines. Welcome, sir. I would request Mr. Vipin Chitoda, senior consultant with NGS, to kindly moderate this session. Welcome, sir. Mr. V.C. Chitoda is a senior... Sir, please welcome. It's a senior oil and gas expert with over 43 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. Mr. Chitoda is currently providing consultancy to Natural Gas Society. Welcome, sir. I would request sir to kindly invite the dignitaries on stage, sir.
Our welcome to all the participants over here, ladies and gentlemen. As Asima has given me this assignment, I am going to moderate. But then tone of the session is already set by Dr. Parikh, so we will go in the same pattern, sir. And I will invite next speaker, Mr. Anand Subramanian. He is the Regional Vice President of Smart Energy Water in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. He has a passion of learning and has extensive experience in enterprise architect with a PMP certification. Therefore, joining Smart Energy Water, he worked at Oracle for 7 years and 11 months in the various positions such as cloud applications, strategic are key and large account, CX sales in strategy and development and fusion application leader for MEA. Anand has also worked on a large scale greenfield project in India for Uninar and Saudi Arabia for Mobili. He has expertise in cloud, SaaS, telecommunication, order system, billing and related integrations, product services and modeling, provision system integration and line plant management system. Our next speaker is Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Head in Marketing of Oil of O&M IGL. Welcome, sir. A graduate of Civil Engineer from NIE Mysore and postgraduate in Management from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. Mr. Kumar is a senior leader in hydrocarbon space, having a rich experience of over 26 years across multiple regions, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, and various roles during his tenure in BPCL. BPCL is the place where I took my initial training as graduate. He worked across the entire value chain in oil and gas sector, including marketing, operation, maintenance, safety, training, strategic network expansion, distribution, channel management, logistics, held leadership position across geography. Presently, he is holding the position of Head O&M and Marketing in Indraprasth Gas Limited. Before joining the current assignment, he was State Head LPG, West Bengal and Northeast of BPCL, comprising 9 states. He is also an independent director in Central UP Gas Limited. I welcome you, Mr. Kumar. Our next speaker is Mr. Rajiv Mathur, but unfortunately he could not make because of some appointment. Probably we will miss his wise advices at these forums. So with that, I will hand over to Chairperson to conduct the session.
Thank you, Chidra Sahab, and welcome to the dignitaries here on the dais who are the speakers, and of course of the dais, including the senior members of the fraternity of the gas sitting of the dais. As my session is the 15% mix from little over 6% to reaching to 15% by 2030. Definitely against the world average of 24% of the gas, it's a really challenge because the policies are favoring, other climates are favoring, but the cost of the gas has to definitely be one of the determining factor. Cleanness of the gas, it is definitely a factor which is encouraging to everyone. It is almost 65% less emission than coal, almost 25% less emission than oil, rather 30% less carbon dioxide emission than oil. And if you think of a power generation, it is very, very convenient, 65% less emission than compared to the traditional coal we are using the power generation, and accordingly 25% less than the oil based, which is of course not too much, but it is still lesser than oil by 25% if you go for the gas generation. But the fact remains that India has more than 410 gigawatt of the installed gas capacity, but the total generation capacity in India is 411 gigawatt. Out of that, gas share is only limited to 25%. Still, the plant load factor is still lesser than that. So, when we talk of the gas using, definitely the conventional sector, CGD, industry, PNG, apart from that, some hard to abate sector like gas, particularly power generation, and requires a due consideration for that. My senior colleagues and Parik Saab has already indicated that gas is again a challenge because over the period of time, the coal is of course because of the high emission content, though India has little bit high reserve of the coal, but the quality of the coal is certainly a problem. All the Indian coals are not very good quality. We are still importing the coals also, but at the same time, availability of the coal is much cheaper compared to the other fossil fuel available. But progressively, another competitor of the gas is RE, renewable energy, which started going down. I remember when the Indian Oil has commissioned a solar power plant of only 5 megawatt way back in 2013, 10 years back. Our revenue we are getting rupees 12 rupees 57 paisa per kilowatt per kWh, and now you are getting the RE as cheap as 2.25 to 2.75 per kilowatt. So definitely the cheap RE is also a challenge. So in between that, the gas has to position themselves between a coal as well as the RE. RE definitely is associated with the zero pollution, and hydrogen is the economy which the country has already announced, the hydrogen based economy. It may not be a distant future of hydrogen, because the penetration of the technologies supporting to the hydrogen, particularly the electrolysis, are expected to come down over the period of time, and at a very faster rate, because it is indicated the electrolyzer cost is likely to go down by 70% by 2030. And similarly, right now the green hydrogen technologies are primarily based on the distilled water, water purity equivalent to the distilled water. Technologies are coming at the experimental stage, already been done, where we'll be able to reduce, even the city refuse water will be able to produce the hydrogen, and also the saline water also will be able to produce the hydrogen. So that will be a change and really challenge. So definitely, and certain factors we must underline when we talk of a CNG. We are again competing with our retail outlet chain of 72,000, because people are sitting from OMCs here. We know that we have a retail outlet chain of 72,000. Against that, you're still gone up to the extent of 5,000. 5,000 is equivalent to the EV charging station. If you see, the CNG stations are comparable with the EV charging station, which has a much later entry in the energy fold in India. So the expansion scenario, changing scenario, definitely requires a lot of determination and a lot of innovative approach. How can we increase, apart from the content like management of the safety, management of the consumer, cost effectiveness to the consumer, because switching to the fuel particularly will be determined based on the incentive associated with the cost. Upfront, anybody is changing the gas from a vehicle to a CNG based system, definitely it requires a capital cost too. So definitely he should be offsetting the capital cost investment for the changing kit or something like that, or the period of time with the use of gas. So these factors requires to be considered, and I will not be taking much time, because we have expert people sitting like Mr. Anand Subramaniam, Rajiv Kumar, and of course Mr. Chidoda is also industry member and very experienced person. So I will begin with Mr. Rajiv Kumar to kindly address, and luckily we'll be from 7 minutes, we'll be able to take 10 minutes maximum. Kindly limit to the time.
First of all, we'll talk about the purpose for achieving anything. You need a purpose. If you want to achieve 30% of gas-based economy 15% gas-based economy by 2030, you need to have a purpose. And we all know that if we are able to convert the country to a gas-based economy, our pollution will go down. The major challenge for the Mother Earth today is the pollution, and the different ways and means are being found to reduce the pollution level across world. And this is going to be definitely reduced, as Mr. Tiwari told, that this is the most, after electric, this is the most efficient way to reduce the pollution across the world. If you go by the data, the total gas consumption for the world in 21 was 4167 BCM, and we are growing at the rate of 24% year on year. As of now, the biggest consumer of natural gas is USA, followed by Russia and other countries. We are at a very minuscule level of 1.5% of the total gas consumed, natural gas consumed by the world. And maybe, I don't know whether today we are the largest population or not, but definitely the second largest population in the world, and we should be consuming more energy and more cleaner fuel than anybody else in the world. So out of total requirement of 62 BCM, around 50% is domestically produced and 50% we import. The good sign of switching to LNGs and natural gas, and the green side we can see that around 103 LNG vessels have been bought globally, and out of that 30% of these vessels are designed to run on LNG. China is going ahead with converting to gas-based economy, and in the years to come, by 2040, around 70% of the energy demand growth will be coming from Asia. And as per the prediction, we'll be requiring around 320 to 350 MMSD by 2030, and out of that, approximately 180 MMSD is required in 2022. And we project that around 50% rise will be there in the domestic production, and rest need to be imported. So we have to develop if we want, the first thing which we need to achieve the 15% target is to have a domestic production ramp up. And secondly, as world across gas is available, newer fields are coming up, we need to have infrastructure to import those natural gas in form of LNG. Currently, if you see, we are having 42.7 MMPTUs that capacity to import. But if you go further, we can see that many of the projects are in the pipeline across coastlines by different companies to increase our import facilities. That will help us in achieving the 15% gas-based economy by 2030. The good part of India is it's still growing. We will be continuously growing as per the projections. We should be growing for next 10-15 years in double digit based on our demography, which will create a constant demand for energy. In next 2 decades, urban populations will be very high. We will be, as per data, adding 13 new Bombay in next years to come. That will generate energy demand, not only in the sector of transportation, but also in the field of electricity. Currently, our demand or consumption is around 6.7%, and we have to, the purpose is to go to 15% to reduce the carbon footprints. If we go by the consumption pattern currently, which we are having of natural gas in India, the biggest consumer as on date is fertilizers, followed by CGD industry, which we represent. Power is 15%, and refineries, they are using 8.9%, and petrochemicals 4.6%, and others are 20.7%. Currently, all the CGD industry put together, we are having around 1 crore PNG customers. If you consider this as compared to the 9 crore consumers of only, I'm talking about BPCL of LPG. So, and if you consider the total basket, around 30 crores consumer of LPG. So we are far behind in converting the LPG consumer itself to PNG, which is a much safer, cleaner and user-friendly fuel as compared to LPG. And LPG still we are importing and it's a higher cost. We are currently as an industry having 36,500 commercial connections, industrial 14,500, and currently we are having 5,000 numbers of CNG stations across India. As Parikh sir was telling, that already 98% of the population already covered after the latest round of authorization given by PNGRB. And as per the minimum work program, we will be adding around 12.33 crore customers and 17,000 CNG stations by 2030. This will bring lot of job opportunity, income growth and cleaner environment to our country. The total investment, we need to invest around 3 lakh crores in developing these facilities. Here we need support from the government in terms of APM and non-APM allocation to the industry. We need more regulatory framework to increase the CNG penetration in the urban area. Currently, if you go, only Delhi and Bombay are mandated to have vehicles on CNG. We request that top 10 polluting cities across India or 15 cities may also be mandated to have CNG vehicles and BS6, or if they want to have a diesel, or they should be minimum BS6 standard. This will not only help the CGD industry to grow and people will come to invest in CGD industry, this will also help us in achieving our targets of 15%. By doing this number of CNG station and putting PNG connections, India will require around 15,000 compressors, 50,000 of dispensers and 38,000 kilometers of steel pipeline and 2.25 crores, 225 crores MDP line. Just imagine the number of job opportunity it will create. Make in India, we can make it in India. This compressor mostly as on date, it's mix of imported and Indian compressor and dispensers. We can have our own manufacturing units. It will improve the steel industry. So not only CG industry will grow by converting to 15%, we will also have the overall economy growth across the country. Being from IGL, I would like to give some data on IGL, which is the leading company in CGD industry as on date. Overall basis, we are representing around 24% of the total CNG sales across India, 24% of the PNG connections. Currently, we are having 751 outlets and 22.5 lakhs PNG connections. We are having a robust pipeline network of 1800 kilometers of steel and 20,000 kilometers of MDP lines. We are operating in 30 districts, 4 states, and we have been authorized in 11 GAs. Another thing which can take the gas-based economy and CGD industry further is to help digitization, customer convenience. If you see on the CNG stations, the long queues, waiting time, if you are able to reduce, that's done now. So if you are able to reduce those waiting time for that. And if you are making convenient for fueling, more and more people will join the CNG vehicle race. They will take more and more CNG vehicles. As a pilot, currently we are doing at around 80 outlets a data analysis of our queuing at the outlets. We are giving those data to our app, which provide where the queues are less, where you can fuel faster. So we need to adopt more technology to have consumer confidence plus consumer convenience. So as I said, this CGD growth and gas-based economy will not only help the CGD or CNG companies and those who are using natural gas, it will give job opportunities, Make in India plan, and now with the Satat scheme, where we are going to be putting more CBG plants across India, that will bring self-reliance in terms of gas also. We can, another thing which is opportunity for India is having a huge coastline. So there we can have our LNG bunkering systems. We can enhance our food security by having more cold storage, deep cold storage with LNG facilities. So all in all, if we want to achieve a 15% target by 2030, we need to focus on developing the infrastructure across the country, invest more, and have regulatory frameworks to support the CGD industry. Thank you very much.
Pattern and the path forward, how to achieve, will be able to achieve to 15% dynamics. Definitely you highlighted that expanding economy, which is 5 trillion is our aim, and then subsequently going to 25 trillion by the end of the 2040 or something. Rapid urbanization and of course the growing population are the key determinant that will be using for the growth of this natural gas to the extent of 15%, and you give a very good path forward how we'll be able to do that, and what other infrastructure has been created and what other infrastructure coming. Thank you very much. Kindly give a big hand to Mr. Rajiv Kumar for such a wonderful presentation. Now I have a pleasure to invite Mr. Anand Subramaniam, who is also a very experienced person, who will be listening his views about the total concept of that and particularly his specialist areas.
Actually, I was listening to the previous session with a lot of attention because I think the whole room is full of experts from the gas industry. You have all been in the industry for a long time. You have looked at every aspect of the chain, right? From how do we import, how do we generate domestic production, transmission and everything. I wanted to take a slightly different approach because by no means am I an expert in gas, and definitely not in a room that is filled with so many experts, right? So I come from a technology background, and as a company what we really focus is on two stakeholders that many times maybe we tend to put in the last. The first one is a customer and the second one is your workforce, right? So all the good goals and ambitions that we set can be achieved if you bring your workforce together with you and if you bring your customers to where you want them to be, right? So that's really what I want to focus on, and thank you, Rajiv, because you touched upon it in terms of digitalization in IGL, right? And that's really something that is very, very important to make a note of. Just like how you would have seen our telcos, telecom companies becoming extremely digital in the last 20 years. The same way, all the different utilities are also coming into a digital forum and framework now, right? And exactly the same applies to a CGD ecosystem, right? Be it in the upstream or the downstream process, digitization will play a role, and there were very good sessions in the morning on IoT where our team presented sessions on that. But I wouldn't go into what is India's gas industry. You know it much better than me. What I would really talk about is every single customer segment, be it a domestic consumer, be it a commercial customer, or be it individuals like you and me, we are dependent, and that is really for whom all these things are being done. Because there is a segment of customers who are very, very price conscious, right? So you need to have the right pricing for those customers. But there is also an aspiring segment of customers who are very much interested in sustainability, who are very much interested in reducing pollution, who are very much interested in reducing the carbon footprint. So I think that is one area where you can balance the supply versus demand, right? So if you are able to target the aspirational customer to come and start to pay more, slightly more maybe, towards gas, but which reduces their carbon footprint, which makes it net zero, or which reduces their pollution levels in their vehicles, I think those customers would definitely be a driver for us to increase the demand for gas. While we look at production and supply, we also look at increasing the demand, right? And that's really where we come in, right? We come in and look at whether you are fully engaged with your customers on one side, and are you fully engaging your workforce on the other side by equipping them with digital tools. And I can give you a very simple example, right? Let's say that you go out now, you ask for an Uber, right? You ask for a car so that it takes you to your house. And you have on one side the digital platform where you are demanding something from a service, and on the other side you have the car driver with an app by which he is able to fulfill your demand, right? What if we had a situation like that, Mr. Rajiv, where somebody had an app on their hand and then they are able to understand which CNG station is now empty, right? Which CNG station is really full and I don't want to stand in the queue. If you are able to give them that information, maybe he is ready to travel another kilometer, but he will be happy to get serviced as soon as he goes to that particular station for his needs, right? And that's really what we are talking about as digital. You are trying to balance and match the demand with the supply, right? And that's really what our company, Smart Energy Water, does. We work in close to 38 countries across the world. We have more than 360 utility customers. We have a lot of gas customers as well. And in India also we have a few customers who are using our digital platforms. What we really focus on is improving the efficiency, getting to the customer centricity, and helping the workforce to operate more efficiently using digital tools, right? What we do is to give the full connected experience. Let's say that you are here, as I mentioned, you are looking to fill up your tank with CNG and you're looking for a place where you need to fill it. How do I match these two? Or I have a problem, I have a gas cylinder which is leaking and I want to raise a request immediately and want a technician to come within the next 15 minutes and half an hour and fix it. Today, you make a call, emergency call, or you write an email and then you wait for the whole day for somebody to turn up. What we do by our platform is to give you the same Uber experience where if I have a problem and I raise a request, I want a new gas cylinder or I want to fill up my tank, the system will be able to tell you there is a delivery truck that is in the vicinity and it will come to you between 10:45 and 11 a.m. That's the level of intelligence that we can provide using the platform so that you don't have to wait for the whole day waiting for a technician to come, or you get a message saying that the person will come in the afternoon or the person will come in the morning. That means you have lost 6 hours of your day trying to wait for somebody to come and address your problem, right? And it could be an emergency, right? That's one thing. Second thing is, how do you make it easy for the customers to pay? I live in Dubai, and typically what happens is when I am in a gas station, I'm able to fill up my tank, and there is an automatic detection of money that happens from a predefined card that I have defined, right? So I set up an auto pay preference, and based on the amount of fuel that I fill, I pay for it automatically, right? These kind of things make it very easy, and it also reduces your queue, because otherwise you are asking someone to do a UPI or scan, and that takes another 30 seconds or 1 minute. So you reduce the queue timing and the waiting times for the customer by making sure that you do easy payments, right? Lot of small areas where digitization can help. Typically we think that digitization means it's a large project, it's a transformation, it will take 3 years. it's not required. Today the technology has improved so much that you can pick small places where you want to improve by using digital technologies, and the products are available. Not just us, many vendors are available. And when you're doing this, please keep in mind that you need to make sure that you select a platform that keeps improving. As your business improves, the platform improves. You could build a lot of these things in-house. Of course, you have a lot of IT resources in India, you can build it, but how do you keep making it updated? How do you keep it up to date? How do you add new features and functions? So that's really where a product-based approach will help. The last bit I wanted to do was, I spoke about how you are able to bring digital to connect your customer and your workforce together, and exactly what we have done in India. We have all these customers here. So for example, Gujarat Gas is our customer. They run on our platform serving about 13 lakh customers, and everybody is having access to an app, and they can use the app to take care of how they communicate with Gujarat Gas. Of course, you have Tata Power. They have spoken about us in the past in forums, IOCL or Bihar Bijli. These are all our customers who run on our platform. It's a digital platform. I believe that for us to accelerate adoption of gas, I think you need to be able to focus on customers and workforce, and that's really what I was here to communicate in 5-10 minutes. We may be having some time to take questions later, then I can do that. Otherwise, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm always happy to see India trying to do so many different things and leapfrogging. Hopefully we reach there quicker than the goals that are set. Thank you so much.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Mr. Anand. And now I invite the questions from the audience, both for Mr. Rajiv and Anand. Rajiv, I have one question for you. In India, we are third largest consumer of energy, as you already know that, but at the same time, we are import dependent economy for the energy is concerned. Crude oil, we are importing more than 85% of our requirement. LPG also you mentioned. We are importing 50% because 25 million to 30 million ton we consume, and half of that all the refineries and fractional system produces. Similarly, gas also, as on today, more than 50%, 53% around we are importing. When you talk of 15%, means five-fold increase because your economy is growing, population is growing, GDP is growing, and urbanization is growing. What percentage do you feel that the production, domestic production will support, and what quantum or what percentage will be importing at that time?
It was there in my presentation that we expect that around 40 to 50%, 40 to 45% will be our domestic production, and rest will be still imported. However, with the Satat scheme and government giving a lot of push to the CBG industry, we hope that this number may be around 50-50 by 2030. As of now, whatever is there, that 40-60, it may become 50-50, but we'll continue to import LNG for our requirements, because that much ramp up of production may not happen in next 7 to 8 years. Okay.
That is including the CBM gas you are likely to get, or the coal gasification, or PET gas gasification, including all those things. Thank you. Any question for Mr. Anand Subramaniam? I have one small question as a user point of view. Sir, you talked about the digitalization for metering purpose, for the customer interface and other things. Normally the GAs are very big actually. Some of the GAs are even crossing the district boundary line and going to the another district. It's very wide. And definitely the economical aspect of running a CGD network, definitely it's not a people intensive. We have to work out on a minimum manpower, both contracted as well as the own manpower of a CGD network. Do you feel that virtualization is possible today as on the industry, so that we can carry out my normal metering and normal, not only limited to the metering, but I mean the routine functions as a trunk pipeline owner does it for the using SCADA, other surveillance system, leak detection system and all those things putting together. Do you feel that this virtualization is possible, and if it is possible, how cost effective it is?
I think one of the good things that happens with new technologies is that the cost keeps reducing constantly, right? That's a boon for us. Of course, if you are a first mover, then you pay a bigger cost. But as the costs keep lower, then you benefit from the reduction in the cost and from the volumes also. But in terms of operational efficiency, sir, what I do believe is digitization has proven again and again and again that you can do more with less. I mean, I don't want to talk about specific areas, but definitely we are witnessing digitization has been able to reduce the cost, has been able to improve the productivity, has been able to reduce the bench time of people, travel time of people because of usage of analytics and data, right? And we see this happening in other industries. Like I was talking to a customer who has big dams. It has nothing to do with gas, right? But what they start to do now is they start to use drones to monitor and see the health of the dams, if there are any hairline cracks that are appearing. The task that would have taken someone, spoke about the geographical distances. A dam is not a small thing to inspect, right? So by using technology like drones, they are able to identify and pinpoint cracks. Of course, it's not 100% accurate, but if you are able to send your manpower 80% of the time it's correct, 20% maybe it's incorrect, but you have already managed to reduce the cost of inspection, for example, right? And exactly the same thing would apply to your pipelines. There are technologies now available, sensors that you can put in. And yesterday, interestingly, there was a gentleman who was talking from the government of India, one of the agencies, and he was talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India programs, where the cost of the sensors have been drastically reduced. They have been made like 1/5 of what you would get when you're importing sensors. Added to that, the sensors is one part of it, but all the data that comes from these sensors and drones and monitoring systems, how do you analyze it and give it to your people so that they make sense out of it? And that's really the other aspect of it, where people like us can come and help.
Thank you so much. If any other question anybody has thought of, otherwise I'll request Mr. Chitola to.
Okay, I mean, towards the end of the session, I have two takeaways. One is that I've been in this industry for 2008 onwards, so about 14 years. Mr. Rajiv Kumar's presentation was very happening to me. I mean, it was giving me happiness. It was also giving me assurance that the things are falling in the line. They are going to be achieved. It is also satisfying that maybe 15% energy basket is achievable and it could be done. So that's a very positive note which I have noted. I also noted during the session which was earlier to this and during this session that there are infrastructure which are already planned and in the building. Government will is there, regulator is in place. They all are working towards making 15% as a reality to come, whether it comes in 2030, earlier or later. But then this is something which is happening. The third thing which we have seen everywhere is the commitment which is flowing, and the commitment is used by city gas distribution company, by pipeline company, and even government is planning to reach Kashmir and Srinagar and other things. So there is a clear display of will by government, regulatory body, private entity, city gas distribution, and manufacturer like ISUW and others to come. The one element which is very important and which was also highlighted in your presentation, Mr. Anand, is that the customer. The customer is one which is going to make it or break it. So it is very important for you to lure your customer to come to the CNG, PNG or other product which you are dealing with. And if you recall it, घर में आप उपटन लगा के नहाइए या बड़ा अच्छा सा सोप या कुछ लेके लगाइए, बात एक ही. So it is something which is to do with the emotional connect of the customers or his desire to be connected with this, and that call for a good marketing strategy. NGS can provide you a platform to market all your product together with us, individually or this thing. We have seen a mobile of 10,000 can work, but all of us will be having a mobile which is, I think, multiple of 10K. So that is something which you have to create for your own product over here if you want to achieve 15% in this. This is what my thought of this is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kindly give a big hand to the speakers here. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to be in the company of the experts in the industry, and I have got a special reference to our sir, Shri Chitoraji. I can tell you, whenever I meet, I just share a piece of advice from him, a wise advice from him, and which I remember for days to come. Chittora साहब ने ऐसा बोला था. Right from the days we were in the petrochemical to the CGD, MGL, all. So it has been a very happening decade. It's quite heartening to note to see him active after so many years as well. So thank you. Thank you. I'll thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity. In fact, I think it's the other way around. Shastriji told me to come at around 2:30, but there was a program going on which I could not skip. So, in fact, I was just going through the Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Mr. Tiwari, and possibly they have already summarized what I wanted to say about the natural gas economy, what our country will be witnessing in days to come. Still, I will just pen down some of my thoughts. I will just. So, as we all know, the energy sector, basically, it is undergoing a significant transformation, and there are many factors to it, and the rising demand, technological innovations, as Ananta was referring to, geopolitical shifts, and not the least, the environmental concerns. We are witnessing emergence of new demand centers, with most of the increase in demand coming from emerging economies. Emphasizes the close relationship between energy consumption and, of course, the economic growth of the country. We in the gas industry have been witnessing the growth from very close quarters, and we see in the coming years natural gas will be the fastest growing fossil fuel, we expect to surpass coal by 2030 to become the second largest source of energy after oil. And when it comes to our country, India, we expect the increase in primary energy consumption by more than 50%, from 850 million tons of oil equivalent to almost 1300 million tons of oil equivalent by 2030. The role of energy resources is critical in catering to this growth trajectory of the country's GDP, in line with the net zero commitments for the national sustainable growth. So it becomes critical as more energy is required to improve the lives of our population, and at the same time reducing the carbon footprint. So coming on some certain government lines, then India's energy vision is on four major pillars: energy access, energy efficiency, energy sustainability and energy security. And Government of India has identified gas sector as a major enabler to achieve this energy vision. The government is committed to moving towards a gas-based economy and increasing the share of gas in the primary energy basket to 15% in the coming years, which will be a welcome development both in terms of energy cost and environment improvement. Going by the shifts in the energy and geopolitical conditions, it will be very naive to predict what will be the mix of energy by 2030. But at least, as the speakers have also voiced, at least the intent is there to reach the 15%. We may reach 11%, we may reach 12%, we may reach by 2035. That's to be seen. But at least the intent is there. In this case, what we are basically also foreseeing is that the role of gas in meeting the goal of national growth and transition, wherein lower carbon fuels is also very critical. So today we consume around 54 million tons of oil equivalent of natural gas on annual basis, while the world is consuming 3,500 million tons of oil equivalent. So it will be almost close to 182 BCM by 2030, which is basically, there are two challenges. One is we want to reach 182. There will be a challenge in sourcing the gas as well as developing the demand center as well. Both have to match on that. For the year 22, India was the fourth largest LNG importer and 14th largest gas consumer. And we are in the present mix 50% dependent on imported fuel LNG. And the share of the domestic gas production is being almost constantly, rather it is on a little bit of declining trend. But we hope few new fields will be added in the next 3 to 4 years, which may ramp up, but LNG import I think will be the mainstay for the gas economy of the country. Strengthening city gas distribution is essential for achieving the gas-based economy, giving access to the 98% of the population and enabling clean energy access to mobility and household sectors, in addition to hard-to-abate sectors which were traditionally using solid and liquid polluting fuels. So India is well positioned in terms of gas infrastructure. After the completion of national gas grid, we will be able to deliver a secure supply of energy to each corner of the country. It is a right tool for ensuring the energy justice, promoting uniform economic growth across India while laying the foundation for downstream industries, ancillary gas-based industries and upcoming CGD networks. So we have today around 21,200 kilometers of pipeline, which are expected to swell to 34,000 kilometers in next 3 to 5 years. And LNG terminal capacities of 14 million tons are expected to reach 62 million tons by 2030. As we all know, the last few years have been extremely difficult for the gas industry, which has been plagued by global economic turmoil, untamed competition, supply gluts followed by supply shortages, to the war and mind-numbing price strategies. If we talk about gas prices, the current high price of natural gas, what we feel is a temporary phenomena that in the long run may soften and fall into much lower range than the current range, moving towards affordability. In 2022, consistently high oil and spot LNG prices force us to revisit on pricing mechanism for the domestic gas supply. The developments of the Indian gas market is a major focus area for our company GAIL, and GAIL's strategy is devoted towards realizing a gas-based economy and pushing for higher gas usage in the industrial segment, transport segments, CNG and LNG, tri-generation and etc. Now, new segments such as LNG in the transport sector are also being explored. The natural gas industry has adequate infrastructure in place and government attention. There are still numerous challenges facing the Indian gas sector and they are being addressed. Gas consumption in India is price sensitive and elastic with regards to other competitive fuels. Pricing and affordability are the key gas issues in India. Globally, share of gas consumption in power sector is 40%, whereas the same is only around 20% in India. So lower domestic gas production than expected and higher international energy prices have rendered the use of uneconomical for the power generation. Falling domestic production of gas has also impacted our Indian gas sector deeply. Substantial new investments is necessary to deliver the required infrastructure. Natural gas pipeline developers are suffering a lack of return in new pipelines due to the low pipeline utilization rate and non-availability of anchor load customers. Natural gas is taxed differently and has a high tax component compared to the coal, despite the latter higher environmental footprint. Natural gas is not under GST. Competitive fuels, coal, FO, petcoke, LPG are all under GST. India's future gas demand growth is expected largely from the industrial and the CGD sector. CGD needs support such as exemption of CNG from excise duty, single window permissions, restriction on polluting fuels in CGD areas, tax reduction in CNG and LNG vehicles, rationalization of permission and road restoration charges for laying PNG pipelines, soft financing arrangement including grant towards switching to PNG may be provided to the industry and commercial units. I want to emphasize that to keep its growth engine running, India needs access to cheap and affordable energy in coming areas. It is important for the Indian energy majors to expand their business portfolio and increase their presence in the entire value chain. In near future, we can see emergence of disruptive technologies in transportation segment, which can even challenge the survival of traditional fossil fuel through shifting consumption pattern. In the context of changing business environment, shifting regulations, emerging challenges, as well as the growth opportunities in India and abroad, we need to reprioritize our initiatives to tap the emerging opportunities, keeping national interest in mind while addressing the threats. So I will wrap up my views here, and I am anticipating insightful conversations going on in the week of in Smart Grid Forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raman sir, for joining us even late, but thank you so much for making it. We'll wrap up the session for the second session. Now, I would request our chair to please hand over the mementos to all the dignitaries here. To our very, I'll do the honor of giving it to sir. Thank you so much. Sharing the session so well. Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll now begin with our next session, which is the new regulations to accelerate natural gas infrastructure. I would like to invite Mr. K.K. Jha, the ex-member PNGRB and ex-director Pipeline IOC, to kindly chair this session. Shri K.K. Jha is a former member of Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. He was instrumental in promoting infrastructural development for transportation and distribution of petroleum products and natural gas in India. Welcome, sir. For this session, I would like to invite Mr. Raman Srivastav, Vice President, Regulatory Corporate Affairs and Risk Management, IGL, Mr. Raman Srivastav has a rich experience of over 25 years in leading, managing and implementing large projects and business solutions in gas sector in the fields of instrumentation and automation projects. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Asima. So, I think this is the last session, but this session is very important as new regulations to accelerate natural gas infrastructure. Because we know the regulator takes a very vital role for development of any natural gas infrastructure, and a lot of new technologies like hydrogen, LPG, LNG and compressed biogas, so that needs to be incorporated in the regulatory part. So first of all, I would like to welcome Shri K.K. Jha, ex-member PNGRB. And in continuation to that, I would like to invite the first speaker, Mr. R. Kannan. He is DGM Regulatory Affairs in GAIL. Please. Presently, he holds a bachelor degree in Instrumentation and Control Engineering and postgraduate diploma in Marketing Management. He has 23 years of working experience in GAIL under various business verticals covering various locations in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Delhi. During the tenure of working in various sites, he has worked in operation and maintenance of natural gas pipeline, compressor station, LPG pipeline, booster station, comprising of overall site experience of 18 years. At present, he is working at corporate office for the past 5 years in regulatory affairs department, which is the nodal point in GAIL for handling the regulatory matters and communicating with the PNGRB. We would like to welcome you, sir, for this session. Our next speaker is Mr. Neeraj Pasricha. He is the Vice President, Pipeline India Limited. Mr. Pasricha has an experience of over 28 years in hydrocarbon sector and has worked with the companies of reputed like GAIL India Limited, Reliance Industries. During his stint of more than 24 years with GAIL and Reliance, he majorly handled the commercial and regulatory aspects of gas sector, including but not limited to policy advocacy, tariff working of pipeline, contract drafting, gas supply and purchase agreement, negotiation, gas transmission agreements. Mr. Pasricha has been a part of various committees formed by the regulator towards amendments in the current regulation or upcoming regulation. He has several papers published in various journals on topic related to gas pipeline tariff, imbalance management in gas pipeline. So we would like to welcome Mr. Neeraj. So not taking much more time, I would request to the chairman of this session, Mr. K.K. Jha, he is ex-member PNGRB, to start the inaugural speech.
Thank you, Mr. Srivastav. First of all, welcome to the last session. And it has been a long day for everyone and we are at the fag end of the session. So we'll like it to be very business-like session where we go ahead with interaction with the panelists, and I like to put forward my views as far as infrastructure development, particularly if CGD is concerned. From a coverage point of view, from a regulatory perspective, if we see the authorization, so almost 98% of the country is covered. So in that case, as far as agencies which are required to develop infrastructure in CGD is concerned, they are in place, and now the game starts for them as far as that is concerned. And the other infrastructure part is there where natural gas pipelines are there. In case of natural gas pipelines, already it is told that more than 21,000 kilometers is up and running, and almost by the end of 25-26 we will be having 30,000 kilometers of natural gas pipeline. But one of the factor which is plaguing the natural gas pipeline industry is the capacity utilization. For that, the anchor investors or the anchor consumers, they must exist. If we recall, particularly as soon as gas was struck in KGD 6 and there was prospect of having very high quantity of gas in Dindyal gas field, number of gas-based power plant mushroomed. I mean, India was supposed to, particularly KGD 6, it was touted to give 120 MMS CMD, and from Dindyal gas field, we were assured that almost 50 MMS CMD will be coming. But however, those fields, they did not live up to that expectations, and particularly the domestic gas production, it was not to the desired level, and whole gas-based consumption became reliant particularly on imported. So as far as if we see it from imported point of view, what we need is LNG, and country has progressed very good as far as creation of LNG infrastructure is concerned, and we understand that by 2030 substantial amount of LNG can be imported in India. What will prohibit particularly, or what will come as a crucial factor once the imported gas is also coming into the country, is particularly the price sensitivity of the market as well as the industry. So in that case, host of issues will have to be taken care of, particularly the regulatory issues, the governmental issues, the industry which is working, how they carry out. And I'll simply cite the instance of CGD industry in here. If particularly the CGD industry player who are developing the CGD infrastructure in any city, they are facing tremendous problem as far as laying of their infrastructure or erecting of infrastructure is concerned. Probably any local body authority, they think that whoever has come to build CGD infrastructure, they are the milking cows, and a pound of flesh is required to be extracted from them. And that should, if that type of approach is going to be there, then particularly we can see it that the industry which is in a very nascent stage, it cannot progress. What is the need of the hour is there, that CGD industry needs to be considered as any other utility industry, just like water utility is there or electricity utility is there. The CGD industry should also be considered as utility, and all those facilities or all those permissions and ease of doing business to these facilities are there, that should be extended at par to the CGD gas industry. Then only we can see to it that this industry stays, it survives and it grows. So that is one of the part which I thought that I like to share with the forum. And not going into detail, I will straight away go to Mr. Kanan to give his inaugural address, to share his thoughts, and where he will be. You will need how much? He says that he will need 5 minutes time, so okay, he can take more than 5 minutes. We allot 10 minutes to him, and 10 minutes to the next speaker also, and afterwards we will have the question and answer session. So over to Mr. Khan.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chair, Moderator, my co-speaker, all dignitaries, and the organizers, a very warm good evening to all of you. First of all, I thank the organizers for selecting me, for inviting me to this wonderful session, which is a very apt one, because regulation is the one which shapes up an industry. And role of regulator is very much important, because one wrong initiation may change the entire direction of the industry. So in that sense, it is very apt to have Jasab here as a chair for this session. And the session 3 topic is new regulations to accelerate natural gas infrastructure. I would like to specially mention this as a very much positive development happening through the regulator, because Regulator is an administrative body, is an subordinate legislator, as good as the legislator themselves. The only difference is they know the intricacies of particular industry. It is headed by and operated by veterans of the said industry, so they can very well understand the pain and possibilities of an industry. So normally for a industry to thrive, it needs investors, and normally an investor's expectation would be to earn first and foremost good return, and that too, if it is risk free, then they will come forward automatically. But what is the position of natural gas pipeline in India today? It is actually a kind of midstream sector. It has to depend wholly on the market demand. First, there should be a market demand, and if there is market demand and that demand, for meeting that demand, there should be sufficient source. So, in between these two, the natural gas pipeline lies, and it has to lie under the ground always. So, as rightly said by Jasap, it needs anchor load. If while laying a pipeline, normally pipeline investor, pipeline developer considers some anchor load and they lay the pipeline. If that anchor load for whatever reason does not come up, then the pipe has to wait for the anchor load forever. So this is the major underlying risk for a natural gas pipeline. So, and the role of pipeline is basically an utility. If no one utilizes, it will remain idle. So, under this background, the regulations have clearly mentioned there should be 12% post-tax return. So, if we go by that 12%, it may seem attractive, but there is a catch in it because it is determined at a particular normative volume, 75% of the capacity. If that capacity is not utilized in every day, then it is a gone case. Actually, it's a kind of perishable item. Once it is gone, it's gone. So these kind of things, these risks, regulator has to understand, and they have very well understood. That's why these regulations have come up recently. So through these regulations, they have considered considered various amendments like transmission loss, system use gas, some other this tie-in connectivity related moratorium period. Just now I told it's a perishable item, so they have been kind enough to consider these unutilized volumes in future years. So these are all positive developments, and as rightly said by Chittoda sir in the last session, customer will make it or break it. So the pipeline industry also needs customers, and nowadays CGD is emerging as one of the major customers for pipeline. So we would also like to like that the CGD industry flourish well, so that natural gas pipeline also runs well. So with this my small thought, I finish my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanan. You have rightly told that utilization, capacity utilization of natural gas pipeline, it's a must. And what you talked about normative volumes, what another aspect can be thought of is the fixed cost and operative cost. fixed cost considered over a complete capacity and over a particular year of time, and then the operating cost. Probably some more iterations in the tariff mechanism and other things may have to be done, because there may never be a perfect fit that which allows best to the operator and best to the consumer. So in that case, a balance is required to be maintained, that the operator also gets the best benefit and the consumer is also not charged overtly as far as these tariffs are concerned. So because as far as, if you know it, the regulator came into place in 2007 only, and as far as within a period of 15 years, authorization part for the city gas distribution covering the whole geographical area has been completed. So that's one of the major milestones the regulatory authority has achieved as far as in its 15 years of service. And earlier concept, when it used to have it, city gas distribution used to be developed where the only pipeline connectivity is there to a city, and then only the city gas there can be developed. Now instead of that, the concept has been taken forward that you can bring in LNG or anything, and then from there you can start it and do it. So it's sort of a decoupled from connectivity issues from natural gas pipeline. So that has spurred the growth as far as CGD infrastructure development is concerned. But however, capacity utilization for the main trunk pipelines remains an area of concern which needs to be addressed as we go ahead, and further input to the gas also increases, because earlier we were almost consuming roughly 11% of the primary energy was coming, 10 to 11% was coming from the natural gas. Now it has come down to 6.1 or 6.2. So it's a overall mix has reduced. So that mix is need to be increased so that the trunk pipeline in expenditure which is going into the taking place, that gets improvement. Now our next speaker is Mr. Pasricha. He has got a rich experience as far as development of the codes and other thing is concerned. He has been associated in many committees and has contributed very positively to the PNGRB. So over to Mr. Pasricha.
Thank you, Joseph. Other respected members on the dais and the room, very good evening, and thanks to the organizer for inviting me for this session. I'll be touching upon these broad areas briefly about our PIL pipeline, and then about the recent developments, focusing on pipeline regulations only, and then what we expect from a near future from the regulations point of view. Pipeline Infrastructure Limited is a company operating a natural gas pipeline of around 1400 kilometers from Andhra Pradesh to Gujarat, traversing through 5 states. It's a Brookfield operating company, which Brookfield has purchased from Reliance Industries in 2019. It's a well-connected pipeline from major domestic source in Andhra to major demand centers in West, and thereafter through the other major networks, gas can flow to the rest of the part of the country. PIL is the first pipeline which has introduced imbalance management. In fact, they took the initiative of convincing board to have a imbalance management services in place so that shippers can manage their gas portfolios to avoid the risk of take or pay and other penalties. Safety is our prime priority, most priority area, and that's why that has been demonstrated by the awards we have been given. We are the first pipeline with a bidirectional flows, and we are the only pure pipe transmission company in the country. And with the customer in focus, as in the last session also it was mentioned that customer is the prime. We have a gas transportation monitoring systems with the 2 layers of safety, with the 2 operating centers, one in Hyderabad, other in Maharashtra. PIL has also been recognized as the best award, best plant company recently in 2022. Whereas the Brookfield, they are the global asset managers with 800 billion investments across the different areas: infrastructure, real estate, private credits, and renewables. In India also, over a period of 7-8 years, we have invested more than $20 billion in infrastructure. We have this pipeline is one of that. Then telecom towers are there. Then roads, data center is there. Then real estate also we are there. Renewables, solar, wind, and private equity. Before I move to the regulatory developments, as the topic said, change in the regulations. As everybody will agree that, as said in Bhagavad Gita also, change is the only constant. So same thing is applicable to regulations also. With the need of the market, with our expectations from the future developments, regulations need to change. As we have seen globally also, these things evolve with the time. Same is with the same intent our regulator is also working. I'll touch upon only the recent regulations, which my previous speaker has also touched, that in few months back only they brought major changes in the tariff regulations by providing a system use gas incommensurate with the volume which they are considering for the tariff. And similarly, the transmission loss, which are the widely accepted norm, that has also been accepted in the tariff now. Similarly, clarity has been brought in the authorized capacity and the volume built up also. So by these regulations, what PNGRB has done is that they create a balance between the investors by giving them an opportunity to earn the allowed return by allowing all the expected expenses in the transmission services. But at the same time, while allowing on a normative basis, they put a cap also, so that there should not be an undue profit to, which can affect the customers. But at the same time, they have given the opportunity to the transmission service providers to work efficiently and gain more profits by keeping their OPEX within the norms. So the other important thing, which regulations, which though they brought in the November 2020, but recently they activate that the start date of it, that is the Unified Tariff regulations, which is expected, which is likely to start from 1st April only. On that, work is going on at a very full pace. This unified regulation is what then after, once it will be there, it will make the transmission distance agnostic to the source, meaning thereby that all the shippers will have gas sources at their disposal. They can approach to any gas source they want and buy the gas at a competitive price. So this will also result in a competition at the upstream level, mean at the commodity level. There is going to be a which will ultimately going to benefit the customers by having a better delivered gas price. So, and at the same time, for marketer also, it will open up the market by giving them access to customers across the country. So it is going to be a win-win for transporter, for the customer, as well as the producer or a trader. So before I'll just go what unified tariff, I just want to touch upon, because that is the hot topic nowadays, and so I'll just, why unified tariff? I'll just give you a brief about that. This is the network scenario in 2008 when regulation were framed that time, and even our pipeline was at mechanical commissioning stage only at that time. If you see that there were only around 7,000 kilometers of network at that time, with some sources at LNG on the western side and some domestic source at the KG basin. Thereafter, at that time, the DCF with a mostly at a levelized tariff system was good for as per that requirement. Now I see if that yellow part is, as already explained, that this is the CGD coverage across the country, and the pipeline network has also grown. But if you see the gas sources, they are limited to those limited areas only, few in the eastern side and the western side only. So which resulted in that the pipeline which are away from the source, they were mostly unutilized, and even the customers also try to build up their plants near to the source so that they can economically source the gas. So there is a need that now we need to have something which is not a additive or a pancaking type of a tariff. We need to have some tariff which is kind of a in between, where at least those who are at a far off from the source can get the access to the pipeline at a reasonable price. Through the unified tariff, PNGRB has tried to address that issue of to avoid the pancaking of a tariff. Just give you broadly what is the existing regime and what is likely from the 1st April. Existing tariff is that PNGRB is working out tariff for each pipeline and customer is paying the tariff accordingly. And the tariff is based on the distance, which is a zonal concept here. Each zone is of a 300 kilometer, but in case customer is using more than 2 pipelines, even if the distance covered is less than 300 kilometer, customer has to pay 2 tariffs to both the pipeline entities for the zone 1 respectively. But now in the unified tariff regime, what will happen is that now customer will be introduced with a unified tariff, which will be a one tariff for the unified path. But as far as the transporter is concerned, whatever presently being done with regard to their tariffs and the revenue, that is going to be maintained. So this unified tariff is a layer for the customers. Like if you know, previously there was a concept of a consumer price, producer price. It is something of a similar kind of a thing. So now with the unified tariff regime, what regulator has done is that all the interconnected pipelines, which are as of now 21 regional and interconnected pipelines are there, that will form a part of a national gas grid system. It will be considered as a one single system across the country, and there will be a one tariff for that system, which is called a national gas grid system, and the tariff applicable on this will be a unified tariff. Wherever customer enters in this network, that will be called unified entry point, and similarly wherever customer exits, that will be called exit points. Based on the distance between the unified entry and exit points, tariff will be finalized. As of now, regulator has proposed 3-zone tariff. Zone 1 is for the 300 kilometers, and zone 2 will be 300 to 1200 for 900 kilometers, and beyond 1200 it will be zone 3. So just to simplify, because recently, in a day before yesterday only, PNGRB has came out with the one PCD on a unified tariff only with some complex metrics. Just to ease you out, through a simple example, I have shown what is going to be unified tariff. As far as transporters are concerned, they are going to earn whatever they are earning today. So there will be revenue neutrality from the transporters point of view. But what customers will going to pay is like that. If you see that the first network is T1 is the first transportation and T2 is the second transportation. If you see that from the source, the green bubble, from there 20 units are flowing from source A and B to the blue network and then to the customers. And customer is also sourcing from the C source 10 units. So total customer is consuming 30 units. As of now, he is paying 20 units at the rate of, for example, 45 rupees, 900 to transporter 1 and 10 units for 70 rupees and 30 units again, including 20 units for the volume which is flowing from the transportation 1 entity, total 2001 rupees. So total customer is paying 3000. Now also customer will pay 3000, but instead of paying 70 rupees and 40 rupees for 20 and 70 rupees for 30, customer will be paying only on the 30 rupees and tariff will be 100 rupees as it work out in a weighted average formula is given there. So ultimately customer is going to pay same amount but in a more simpler manner. And though this example is simple, if you see in the complex example, the customers who are farther from the source will be benefited from that side. The provision presently is that it will be worked out on an annual basis, and in case of any sudden change, then there will be a provision to review these tariffs in between also. So as far as the future is concerned, as a pipeline entity, we expect that the regulation need to address certain issues, like as everybody is aware that even getting a ROU and government authority clearance is a big challenge nowadays also. So we expect some hand holding or some regulations to give some comfort there also, so that it is easy for new infrastructure or new investors to come and lay those lines. Similarly, keeping in view the success of CGD, we suggest that the regulator can, for pipeline also can have a road shows, particularly in the greenfield areas, to give them an idea about the gas benefits and how they can source. In fact, all even can go together in such areas like gas traders as well as transporters to provide them a fair idea of how to source the gas, what all benefit gas is going to give them. And through this we can also create, as said, discussed earlier also, create some anchor loads. This will help us to have a fair assessment of a demand to design our pipeline, so that bidding can be done on a better criteria. Then at the same time, to the anchor shippers, we can also give some comfort, some extra benefits of committing upfront, which is enabling a new projects. And as Jha Sahab has also touched, with regard to the tariff also, we need to see presently there is a total volume risk on the transporter. We need to have some arrangement, some mechanism wherein it will be some sharing kind of those volume risk is there. Similarly, in the authorization process also we propose certain changes, like bid evaluation criteria needs to be reviewed. Now it's on a tariff basis. We can think of some other basis, so that at least tariff can be as per the tariff regulations, which provide for some returns, which will give a fair idea to the investors also that how much they are going to earn if they invest that much money. Similarly, for flexibility can also be provided to the investor for transfers or to bring in more partners. And in case of exit also, instead of going into the litigation, it is better to have some mechanism to have a friendly exit, so that project is not delayed and things keep on moving. And so these are some of the suggestions for the future also. With this, I'll rest my views on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pasricha, for your presentation as far as what the new tariff methodology has been proposed, and that's going to come into force from 1st of April 23. Because we are nascent as far as gas regulations are concerned, we have still not matured fully, and the part is there that there is a deficit in domestic production. We are much more dependent on imported source, so we are always subject to vagaries of international geopolitical situation or any conflict or any issues. As you know it, recently when there is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, the gas prices have gone through the roof, and it has impacted each and every aspect of working as far as oil and gas industry is concerned. So thank you very much for your presentation. Now the floor is open for questions. We'll expect some from the floor, that any questions to whom this is addressed. Okay, my question to Mr. Pasricha is there, whether the present modality for tariff which is being proposed, is this similar to that model which is operated in Spain, where entry and exit loads are taken into consideration, or something different, or it is hybrid of that?
It's a bit different than entry-exit. Entry-exit works on a marginal costing basis, or in fact there are different ways to work out the entry-exit. One of the method you can say is similar to what we have adopted, weighted average thing. But the Spain and UK, they work out the entry-exit on a marginal costing basis. There is a way to work out distance-based also entry-exit. That is similar to some distance-based, you can say.
Okay, and what about the regulation as far as that common carrier is concerned for CGD industry? So that I'll put question to Mr. Kanan. That's what's the industry perspective as far as when the CGD network itself gets into the common carrier mode?
Actually, sir, so far it has not been done, but regulator is trying to do that. Even regulator has published notices also, but that has been challenged. So as of now, common carrier concept has not come into reality in CGD network, but for that they have their own valid reasons, and again it's kind of balancing the interest of the entity as well as the customers. So yeah, as of now, common carrier concept has not come in CGD networks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. It was a very nice and comprehensive presentation made by both the speakers, Mr. Neeraj and Mr. Kanan. Just I would like to ask one point to Mr. Neeraj, that like unified tariff, it will be effective from 1st of April. So what would be the impact on the CGD charges? Like suppose we are paying approximate 50 rupees per MMBTU. So is there any impact on the CGD charges if the tariff will be implemented on 1st April?
Actually, it's again a zonal based tariff. As far as the zone 1 and zone 2 are concerned, indicative tariffs have also been given in the PCD by PNGRB. They are in the range of, zone 1 is in the range of around 35 and zone 2 is in the range of around 80, and then anything beyond 1200. So it all depends where CGD entity is. If they are using, and that is going to definitely benefit CGD entities if they are away from the source. Those who are at the farther end or those who are beyond 1200 kilometers, that definitely there is an advantage to them, because there will be no pancaking. As of now, if let's say somebody is sourcing gas from KG Basin, ONGC KG Basin and taking to the UP, they are paying 2 or 3 pipeline tariffs. There will be only, to that, such kind of customers, whether it is CGD or non-CGD, there is going to definitely benefit. But those, even if somebody is paying 2 tariffs as of now, at least some comfort is there to those CGDs also.
So that will be finalized, when it will be finalized?
By March end only. Final numbers will come. Indicative is there, but March end, that is what PNGRB has said.
Okay, thank you. So I think one last point I would like to update to the audience, that government is also very keen to expedite the infrastructure of natural gas in the country. So in that aspect, they have today in first half, MOPNG additional secretary has taken a meeting with all the stakeholders like all the CGD, GAIL and other companies, and they have asked what are the restrictions which the CGD is facing to clear the infrastructure fastly. So I think all the company have given the advice, and they have confirmed that very soon there shall be amendment in the regulations, like few things, CBG, LNG, hydrogen mending in the pipeline. So many things have discussed today, and I think we hope they will come up with some amendments in the regulatories that will help us to expedite and accelerate the job. That's all. Thank you very much. Sir, I think you can conclude.
No, thank you very much, and I'd like to thank all the speakers over here, that they have done a wonderful job, and it was quite an interesting and absorbing topic they have brought to the forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And to our very well and very good moderator, Mr. Raman Srivastava. With this, we come to an end to the Smart City Gas Distribution session. A big thanks to all the esteemed dignitaries and our audience. Thank you very much.